Om Shanti. How are you? So, what do you think about sleeping for more than 8 hours? Because nowadays doctors recommend minimum 8 hours sleep for good health. But that's not the case when I was young. In school books, it was mentioned you need 6 hours sleep. But I think it's changed for some reason. Maybe after 10 years it might become 10 or 12. I'll not be surprised because our body condition changes with time. uh, that's because of what we consume in the form of food, in the form of thoughts, and our actions, our behaviors. So we all know that people are so addicted to sensual pleasures, especially sex. So that's the main culprit behind the prolongation of our average sleep time. Because the more one indulges in sexual acts, his body needs more sleep time. So, what would happen if somebody spends more than 8 hours in sleep, say 10 hours or 12 hours, 15 hours, or full 24 hours continuously for a week, or worse, for a month? What would happen? It's more like death, right? Uh, because psychiatric patients, like ones with bipolar disorder, while they were on medication, they will spend all the time sleeping. So rarely they wake up from sleep, they take food, immediately they will go back to sleep. So it's like death or coma stage for them. So that's the reason those patients, after some time, they stop taking those pills because it's like hell for them. They will always be sleepy. So although sleep is important for the refreshment of the body cells, when it exceeds this certain amount, it does only harm to us. We can't live this life, right? But coming to Ramayana, where there is a character called Kumbhkaran who is famous for sleeping continuously for 6 months, and the next 6 months he will be busy eating, then again he'll go back to sleep for the next 6 months. So in order to understand the actual secret behind that story, we have to acknowledge that it is just a story and not something that really happened, because that's impossible for someone to sleep that long and to stay awake for that long. It is just a story. There is no one with 10 heads called Ravan. So it is only when God through Brahma Kumaris reveal these things that we come to know, and we are enlightening you with the same. Because it is the five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego, that is present in both men and women, that is combinedly called 10-headed Ravan. Other than that, there is no one with 10 heads. And the story says that Ravan kidnaps Sita, means it is the soul that gets kidnapped by Ravan, because everybody is addicted to those five vices now. But it's not so all the time. Even in that story, it's not that Sita is always there with Ravan, right? There was a time when she was free from Ravan. Then she is imprisoned by Ravan. So how was the time when she was free from Ravan? No, I'm not asking about the Ramayana, about souls. Do you know when we were free from Ravan? Because we tend to think that it is lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. It's been there right from the beginning, right? But in reality, that's not the truth. There was a time when the world, especially India, was absolutely free of these five vices. Just imagine how the world would be when there is absolutely no sign of these five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego in anybody's mind. Won't it be like heaven? You're right. That was indeed heaven. For the first 2500 years, India was heaven. And the people who were living there free from these five vices were the deities whom we worship till date in Hindu temples. Where have they all gone? They haven't gone anywhere. They are also humans just like you and me, but they are filled with the divine qualities, free from devilish qualities like those five vices. And the divine qualities include purity, uh, love, peacefulness, and so on, happiness. And they were ever wealthy. Actually, they were blessed with unlimited treasures. They were so rich that they lived in palaces built out of golden bricks. Then imagine for yourself how rich they would be. Where have they all gone? After taking several rebirths in heaven for the first 2500 years, they start taking rebirth in hell. Yes, this world becomes, which was heaven in the beginning, becomes hell gradually. Why do you call that as hell all of a sudden? Because we start committing those sins. We become addicted to those five vices gradually. How's that possible? Because while we were in heaven, we were fully soul conscious. And when after the first 2500 years, we slowly lose soul consciousness and become body conscious. Once we become fully body conscious, that's when these five vices, lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego, emerge from within us. Because we become body conscious. Before that, we considered ourselves to be souls that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows, which is why Hindus apply tilak here. So it is the soul that sees through the eyes, speaks through the mouth, performs all acts through this body. They were constantly aware of that. They interact with each other being fully soul conscious. After 2500 years, they no longer consider themselves as souls. While they were in soul conscious stage, they were constantly happy and peaceful because that was the true nature of the soul. It is only when they become body conscious, they can't remain happy by themselves, so they have to depend on things external to them to get happiness, peace. So that's when they become addicted to sensual pleasures, and that addiction makes them lose the power to discriminate between right and wrong. That's when they started committing sins and have become what we are now. We have lost all the health, wealth, beauty, everything. Now, all we have is peacelessness and sorrow in one form or another, in the form of diseases, poverty, natural calamities, conflict between nations. So we are at the verge of world destruction. That's when God comes from his supreme abode, which is the golden red colored light world. That's where God resides all the time. That's where we souls, before taking birth, resided along with God. And that's where we souls, after leaving this world at the time of destruction, will go back to. And God reveals the knowledge about his supreme abode, about us, that we are not this body but souls, and also about him, that he is also a soul just like you and me. The only difference is he stays away from this birth and death cycle. Nonetheless, he needs to come because only he has this knowledge about this 5000 year time cycle called Kalpa, and also the knowledge to make us pure again. Because by becoming addicted to these five vices, we become impure. As long as we were completely free from these five vices, we were pure. That's the reason we were so happy. So, in Ramayana, at one point, Ravan, actually Kumbhkaran is the brother, younger brother of Ravan. Ravan says, as long as Kumbhkaran is with me, no enemy can dare to strike fight with me. So he is my strength, Ravan says. How can someone who sleeps continuously for 6 months can be the strength of anybody? What use can he be of to anybody? Not even for him he will be of any use, right? Then why did Ravan say that? So you will know this secret only when you acknowledge that it is just the story trying to convey a deep spiritual secret. So we now know that Ravan is nothing but these five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. How did it find its way through the human beings? Only when we become body conscious. Being body conscious is actually the sleep referred to in Ramayana. So, what they were trying to say is, for the half of a year, he would be asleep. For the next half, he would be busy eating. In reality, for the half of this kalpa, we were awake, which means we were fully soul conscious. We know who we truly are. But in the next half of this kalpa, we go back to sleep that lasts for half a kalpa, which means we become body conscious and we no longer realize that we are the soul. Because it is only during sleep we forget ourselves, right? So, since we forget ourselves for the next half of this kalpa, we are considered to be in the deep sleep. There is no one called Kumbhkaran. It is the souls that act as Kumbhkaran. So it is only when you are body conscious, Ravan is able to rule over you. Once you become soul conscious, he will have absolutely no power over you. That's the death of Ravan. So it is by becoming body conscious, we will start developing those five vices: anger, greed, attachment, and ego, and the number one being the lust. So that's why Ravan was portrayed to be a womanizer, filled with lustful thoughts. So that's the toughest to conquer for any human being. But conquering all these five vices and body consciousness is pretty easy, but we need to put constant effort. But the effort is very easy. But we have to pay attention constantly that we are putting that effort, which we do not with this body but with the mind, because it is the mind that believes that we are this body, right? Now you need to convince your mind that you are not this body but this soul, which is the fact. But that's not easy because we have already become slaves of these five vices. How do you conquer that? God says, consider yourself to be soul, see each other as soul, always focus your vision in between the eyebrows and not anywhere else on the body. Because it is by seeing the body constantly that we have lost everything by falling into these five vices. But God knows we lack strength to remain soul conscious. That's the reason God gives His own introduction on how He actually looks like. He is also a point of light, just like you and me, just like any other soul. He is not bigger or smaller than souls. The only difference is we take this body, he doesn't take body, he doesn't take birth through your mother's womb. So you need to consider yourself to be the soul and to remember God as a point of light as much as possible, no matter what you do. Just keep your mind busy in remembrance of God. The more you remember God after becoming soul conscious, that you will receive the strength to conquer these five vices and to remain soul conscious constantly. So it depends on how much you become soul conscious before you leave this body, before the destruction of this world. Accordingly, you will get the status in heaven, because it is the same soul. If it purifies itself being in remembrance of God, that it will start taking birth in heaven again. So now you can understand that the sleep referred in Ramayana doesn't refer to the sleep you and me take during the night of this 24-hour time cycle, but it refers to the sleep that happens for the last 2500 years in each kalpa. So once you know that it is we souls who are the real kumbhkaran, and the only way to get out of that sleep is to be in remembrance of God, that we become awake and regain the kingdom that we have lost. We will get everything we have been losing for the past 5,000 years. So spread this world to people of all religions, so they can understand the actual secret behind all religious scriptures, not only Hinduism, because we'll be discussing about everything in this channel. Please subscribe and keep watching to get more and more enlightenment. So the knowledge we are giving is actually from God, who gives his teachings directly through Brahma Kumaris. So it's just a drop of the knowledge from the ocean of knowledge, God. So, in order for you to enjoy being in the ocean of knowledge, please go to the nearest Brahmakumaris Rajyoga Meditation Center. This knowledge is given in the form of Murli. You can also find it in several websites and YouTubes. You can search for Brahmakumaris Murli in whatever language you wish. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.